Welcome, I am the Loud Little Ducky. Today we are going to be going over some updates in the Sandra Birchmore case and going over William Farwell's decertification. He can no longer be a police officer anywhere. Now, if we remember back, Matthew Farwell, formerly of Stoughton PD, he voluntarily decertification agreement and the decertification order was issued in March 21st, 2024. The summary was Farwell entered into a voluntary decertification agreement under which he agreed that the allegations made against him would support revoking his law enforcement officer certification. Those allegations included that he had a sexual relationship with a member of the Stoughton Police Explorers program who was 15 years old at the time, while Farwell was 27, that Farwell subsequently pursued additional sexual encounters with the victim by various means as recently as 2020, that such encounters continued over an extended period, and that Farwell was untruthful during a law enforcement investigation into the victim's death. I still need to see if I can get the voluntary and the decertification order there. But this was released, and so it says the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission in the matters of Matthew Farwell, decertification order. The respondent, William Farwell, has entered into, so this goes with this, has entered into a voluntary decertification agreement under which he agreed to the permanent revocation of his certification, also known as decertification, as a law enforcement officer in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, beginning on the date of approval of the agreement by the Massachusetts Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission, quote-unquote commission, and the entry of his decertification in the National Decertification Index, the NDI. And then it cites some case law. As further conditions of the agreement, the respondent has waived all rights to consent or to contest in this or any other administrative or judicial proceeding which the commission is or may be party. The factual allegations, conclusions of law, terms and conditions, and other provisions contained in the agreement. Accordingly, it is hereby ordered that for the reasons stated in the agreement, A, the respondent's law enforcement certification is hereby permanently revoked. B, the executive director shall characterize this action as a voluntary decertification. And C, the executive director shall take the necessary steps to publish the respondent's name in the NDI, which we learned was the National Decertification Index, and any publicly available list and database published by the Commission. By vote of the Commission on September 24th, 2024, and that it is signed, and then they gave notice to everybody that needed to be notified. So here, again, with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Peace Officer Standards and Training Commissions in the matter of William Farwell, voluntary decertification agreement in the interest of resolving the above captioned matter and consistent with the public interest and laws and regulations governing the Massachusetts Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission, quote-unquote commission, including, and then it lists statutes, the respondent, William Farwell, and the Commonwealth hereby enter into the voluntary decertification agreement. Factual allegations. Number 1, the respondent was employed as a police officer for the Stoughton, Massachusetts from March 21st, 2017 until August 1st, 2022. So then it took him all the way until 2024 to do this voluntary decertification thing. Like, It's just ridiculous. The fact that it's taken 2 years for any of this junk to happen. On July 1st, 2021, the respondent was automatically certified as a police officer in the Massachusetts pursuant to ST 2020 C-253-102 and Act relative to justice, equity, and accountability in law enforcement in the Commonwealth throughout the entire time of the allegations described herein. The respondent was an active law enforcement officer employed by the Stoughton Police Department, although the respondent had not personally submitted an application for the commission. On October 10th, 2022, the commission denied the Stoughton Police Department's application for renewal of the respondent's law enforcement certification. So they tried to get him recertified in October of 2022. Stoughton Police Department did. And then it was denied. According to the Stoughton Police Department's internal investigative report dated August 29, 2022, it was alleged that respondent misled Massachusetts State Police investigators about the extent of the relationship with Sandra Birchmore, a former member of the Stoughton Police Department's Explorers program, when the respondent first met when she was a juvenile. And he was a guest instructor in the program. Further, it was alleged that the respondent exchanged sexually explicit text messages with Sandra Birchmore while on duty on several occasions at the time when she was an adult. Additionally, it was alleged that the respondent conducted several unauthorized searches of criminal justice information services databases, including querying himself and Sandra Birchmore without an official law enforcement purpose. So he has no business looking up if there is anything in the system with his name or her name. And they put SB in here. I don't know if it's to save, character space or what, but we are going to say her name. Sandra Birchmore. Not SB, Sandra Birchmore. Say her name because she deserves it for the justice and the awful things that were done to her. Say her name. She is the victim here. 4, on November 22nd, 2022, pursuant to 55 CMR 1.023 and 4, the Commission directed its Division of Police Standards Division to open preliminary inquiry to investigate the above allegations against the respondent. Number 5, Sandra Birchmore participated in the Stoughton Police Department Explorers program beginning in 2010 when she was 13 years old. Birchmore remained in the program until 2016 when she graduated from high school. Sandra Birchmore first met the respondent through the Police Explorers program in 2011 when he was a guest instructor in the program, and Sandra was 14 or 15 years old. The division has no information that the respondent engaged in any appropriate or sexual conduct with Sandra Birchmore at the time when she was a minor. The division has no information the respondent engaged. Okay, well, I don't know how the division doesn't have any of that, but okay. 6, from 2017 through 2021, the respondent is alleged to have conducted approximately 26 unauthorized searches. So he searched in the database his and her name at least 26 times. On 2 of the occasions in 2019, the respondent purportedly queried the CJIS information on Birchmore, despite having no official law enforcement purpose for doing so. On approximately 24 separate occasions, the respondent allegedly conducted queries on himself without any official law enforcement purposes. He was trying to stay ahead of this. It shows his guilt because he has no reason to be doing this. On multiple occasions in 2020, the respondent allegedly exchanged sexually graphic text messages with Birchmore, including photographs and videos of nude individuals and individuals having intercourse. The graphic text messages date back to April 2020 and were exchanged through December 2020. At the time the text exchange, Birchmore was approximately 22 years old. Several of these sexually graphic messages were purported sent on dates and times when respondent was on duty as a police officer. So instead of catching criminals, he's sexting somebody he groomed. On February 4th, 2021, Canton police officer responded to Sandra Birchmore's apartment for a wellness check, and they had discovered that Birchmore had died. No, she hadn't died. She was killed. Murdered. When interviewed on February 11th, 2021, so like 2 weeks later, pursuant to the Massachusetts State Police investigation of Birchmore's death, the respondent allegedly admitted that he had a sexual relationship with Sandra Birchmore for about 2 years while Sandra Birchmore was an adult, and that in 2020 he had 2 or 3 sexual encounters with her. The respondent allegedly reported that the last time he and Birchmore were together was sometime in December, which does not match up with the birth of a baby that is supposed to be coming. That doesn't match the pregnancy timeline. So you're a liar. When Birchmore told respondents that Sandra was pregnant with the respondent's twin brother's child, it is alleged text messages between Sandra Birchmore and the respondent, Farwell, indicate that the two met for sexual encounter in the parking lot of her apartment building on January 10th, 2021. So, yeah, that's after December 2020, which is, and they say, which is inconsistent with the respondent's alleged statements to the Massachusetts State Police. Applicable law. Pursuant to MGL C6E and 3A, the Commission shall have all powers necessary or convenient to carry out and effectuate its purpose, including, but not limited to, the power to 1. Act as primary civil enforcement agency for the violations of Chapter 6E, deny an application or limit, condition, restriction, revoke, suspend a certification, or fine a person certified for any cause that the Commission deems reasonable. Restrict, suspend, or revoke certification issued under Chapter 6E. Conduct adjudicatory proceedings in accordance with Chapter 30A. Pursuant to MGLC 6E, 10B, and a bunch of I's, the Commission may, after a hearing, suspend or revoke officer's certification if the Commission finds by clear and convincing evidence that the officer has a pattern of unprofessional police conduct that the Commission believes may escalate. Yeah, well, it did escalate way before this. Like, I don't know if it's going to escalate from here, but it escalated way before this decertification. And it says, pursuant to MGL 6E 10G, the Commission shall publish any revocation order and findings. The Commission shall provide all revocation information to the National Decertification Index. No officer may apply for certification after that officer's certification has been revoked pursuant to this section. So he cannot reapply for recertification or to get his certification back. It's done with. You misbehaved. You misused your badge. You have no power anymore. And that is not, you did not use your power for good, which is what a police officer should be doing. Pursuant to MGL 6C6E 10H, the Commission may institute a disciplinary hearing after an officer's appointing agency has issued a final disposition, the alleged misconduct of 1 year of elapsed since the allegations were reported to the commission, whichever is sooner. Unless otherwise provided by law, agencies may make informal dispositions of many adjudicatory proceedings by stipulation, agreed settlement, consent order, or default. The respondent's alleged conduct described above, if proven by clear and convincing evidence, would constitute a pattern of police misconduct that may escalate and would justify discipline against the respondent, Matthew Farwell, pursuant to 10B and a bunch of I's. Resolution. In the view of the foregoing alleged violation, the Commission has determined that the public interest would be best served by the disposition of this matter without further enforcement proceedings on the basis of the following terms and conditions which have been agreed to by the respondent. So Matthew Farwell has agreed to these. The respondent, without admitting the truth of the above allegations made against him, agrees to the permanent revocation of his law enforcement officer certification in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts pursuant to the standard. So I know it says, without admitting the truth of the allegations, but he knows he's guilty. But if this was to happen to somebody where it was just allegations and there wasn't a lot of proof, and for some reason they did get their badge taken away, why would you just voluntarily do this? Like, most people would fight like hell to keep their badge. But he was like, you know what? Yeah, we'll just hand it over. Why? Because you knew that they were going to take it away from you either way. So you want to seem like you cooperated. Moving on. The respondent voluntarily waives any right he may have to appeal, upgrade, or otherwise challenge his current status of not certified, including but not limited to any appeal or challenge to the October 10th, 2022 decision of the Commission denying the Stoughton Police Department's application for renewal of the respondent's law enforcement certification. It is just still so sickening because Stoughton has known about these allegations. Stoughton Police Department has known, but they still tried to renew his certification when they should have been firing his ass. It's disgusting and despicable, and how can you be trusted? That does not make the community feel safe under your protection. This should not have happened. This is y'all sweeping it under the rug and acting like nothing happened here, nothing to see. The respondent waives all rights to conduct a factual allegations conclusion of law, terms and conditions, or other provisions contained in the agreement in any administrative or judicial forums to which the Commission is or may be party. The respondent acknowledges that once this agreement and order of suspension issued by the Post Commission are executed, they will be public documents and will be published on the Commission's website pursuant to the statute. Furthermore, the status of respondent's certification will be publicly available on certain lists and databases published by the Commission. So other people will be able to see that this man can no longer be a police officer. The respondent understands and acknowledges that, as required under the statute, the Commission will submit all revocation information, including a copy of this agreement and any order of decertification, for inclusion in the National Decertification Index. The agreement shall be effective as of the date it is approved by the Commission, and then it's signed September 6, 2024 by the respondent, and then as of September 24th, 2024, it is signed by the chair. So he is decertified, no longer a police officer. So there are 2 police officers now that are decertified. There's at least one more to go that needs to be decertified. Now I want to look at some of the stuff that is reported by Ted Daniels, who is with Boston 25 News. You can go follow him on Twitter to stay up to date with things in this case, as well as following the Justice for Clayton, or not Justice for Clayton, that's another case, Justice for Sandra Birchmore case on Twitter as well. They also have a Facebook page that they update about as much as they update the Twitter, to just stay in tune with this, and of course here for all the information regarding this case. So Ted Daniels puts out that the feds met with the state medical examiner prior to the arrest in Sandra Birchmore's case. And this came out on September 5th, 2024. The article says, in Stoughton, Massachusetts, more than a week after acting United States Attorney for Massachusetts, Josh Levy, announced the indictment of former Stoughton police officer Matthew Farwell, 38, of Northeaston, for the alleged killing of Sandra Birchmore in Canton. The manner of death on Birchmore's death certificate still reads unaliving. 25 Investigates has learned FBI agents who investigated Birchmore's death met with Massachusetts Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Mindy J. Hull for several hours on August 16th, 9 days before Farwell's arrest, to notify her that their new findings contradicted her office's determination that Birchmore died from asphyxia by hanging. 2 sources briefed on the meeting who spoke on the condition of anonymity told investigative reporter Ted Daniels that the FBI agents shared new evidence they uncovered and discussed technical aspects of the OCME's May 2021 unaliving ruling. Federal court documents allege Farwell made it appear that Birchmore had taken her own life. State police detectives assigned to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office first investigated Birchmore's death when Canton police received a report that she failed to show up for work on February 4th, 2021. Birchmore was found in her apartment, seated on the floor with a duffel bag strap tied around her neck and attached to a closet door. Birchmore was pregnant and had told Farwell he was the father of the child. Dedham-based attorney and former prosecutor Perkins said the ME's determination that Birchmore hung herself would have been based on an autopsy and any information the DA's office shared with the medical examiner about the case. Which makes me wonder, what information did they not share with the ME? Because how in the world is this ruled as that if you did a thorough autopsy? Including things from the crime scene. Witness testimony, Perkins said, the first question I would have is how much information did the medical examiner have when they first made that determination? A state police report from March 2021 reveals Farwell admitted to having a sexual relationship with Birchmore, and a friend of Birchmore's told a state police investigator that Birchmore was pregnant with Farwell's child, and he did not seem happy about the pregnancy. Another report from state police investigation references surveillance video that shows a masked Farwell entering Birchmore's apartment building 3 days before her body was discovered. It's quoted saying, I think it's really important to ask whether or not the district attorney and the state police shared sufficient information with the medical examiner. And if they did, and the medical examiner was still saying no, I think it's unaliving. How much did they challenge that decision? Perkins said. Part of the new evidence collected by the U.S. Attorney's Office includes an analysis from Dr. William Smock, chair of the National Medical Advisory Committee for the Training Institute of Strangulation Prevention. Dr. Smock cited Birchmore's hyoid bone fracture, the pattern imprint injury on her chest, abrasion on her nose, and the broken necklace among other evidence that led him to conclude that Birchmore's death was a homicide, according to federal court documents. The hyoid bone is a horseshoe-shaped bone located at the front of the neck. 25 Investigates contacted the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, the OCME, Tuesday to ask if Dr. Hall was reevaluating Birchmore's manner of death. OCME spokesperson Elaine Driscoll responded with this statement. The Massachusetts Office of the Chief Medical Examiner is dedicated to upholding the highest standard of forensic pathology and death investigative services with professionalism, integrity, and compassion. We are also committed to providing accurate and impartial conclusions, cause and manner of death in every case, including Ms. Birchmore's, is based upon information available to the OCME at the time of determination, which makes me think that Canton didn't hand over all the information because, well, we know how Canton does things if you've been following the Karen Reed trial. It's not very good. Let's see. The physical evidence and the pathology concerning Miss Birchmore's tragic and untimely death will be robustly analyzed and debated during the legal proceedings, with the full cooperation and participation of our highly skilled and experienced medical examiners. As with every case, the OCME will review its findings as new information arises and awaits access to any newly established evidence developed by federal and state authorities. So this will be where it's interesting in a trial, if he does not take a plea deal, is seeing this particular medical examiner get up there and try, and they're going to get up there for William Farwell's defense pretty much, saying that this cause of death was unaliving, when there's so much proof to the contrary. And so the state on cross-examination is going to be like, well, did you have this information? Did you have this information? No. If you had this information, would it have changed? Why is the hyoid bone being fractured make you think that it's unaliving and not strangulation by another person? Like, these are questions that are going to be asked in the trial, and it'll be really interesting to see what they were given to make their determination on. And this is not going to be, this death certificate is not going to be changed to a homicide probably until after a trial. Then they might go in there and change it due to all the information that comes out, and then they can say, okay, now we have all this information and that we did not have at the time we determined this. We have more information, and now that concludes it to being homicide. But I do not look for this thing, the death certificate, for the manner of death to be changed to homicide until after the trial. So here are some tweets that Ted Daniels put out. So it's Ted Daniel News on Twitter. So on August 6, 2024, lawyer from Stoughton police officer William Farwell wants post-commission to hide Sandra Birchmore's identity. They use her initials SB in his legal fight against decertification because Farwell's lawyer says the only reason to interject SB's name is to garner sympathy. Bullshit. That is straight up bullshit. It is because she is the victim in this case. It's not to garner sympathy. It's to point out what he did to who he did it to. And we're not hiding her name. That's why I made sure that I used Sandra Birchmore's name when reading the commission's decertification. I'm not saying SB. She has a name. She was somebody. It's ridiculous. And I have a feeling that I am not going to like Farwell's lawyer. And just because people represent bad people, I don't hold that against them, because somebody needs to represent these people so that when they are convicted, they are put in jail and no appeal will ever let them back out on the street because it was done fairly. I want them to be represented properly. But I do not like when these lawyers become douchebags and forget about the victim. Represent your client, but don't be a jackass. Then on August 28th, 2024, he put out new statement from the Office of Chief Medical Examiner, so the OCME. The Massachusetts Office of the Chief Medical Examiner is aware of the federal indictment related to the tragic death of Sandra Birchmore. The Medical Examiner's Office has fully cooperated with the U.S. Attorney's Office on this investigation and will continue to do so. They uphold the integrity of the active federal investigation and the prosecution. The OCME respectfully declines to publicly comment on this matter at the time. Yeah, because what else is there to say other than you messed up? You got this wrong. There's nothing else to say. You will explain yourself in court. And then maybe you will learn to start doing right by victims. Stop letting corrupt police officers change your science and the knowledge that you have. Who cares what these corrupt officers say? Follow the science. Follow the evidence. The evidence did not point to what you claimed happened. You need a new chief medical examiner, in my opinion. He also put out a tweet on August 28th as another tweet on August 28th, 2024. Breaking new statement from Norfolk DA's office on indictment of former Stoughton detective Matthew Farwell for the killing of Sandra Birchmore. It says the Birchmore investigation has remained open and active, but as you know, we do not comment extensively on active investigations. Well, yes, that is true. It says that work has included collaboration with local police, the Attorney General of the Commonwealth, and the FBI, as each entity has unique resources and jurisdiction. 2 state police officers assigned to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office were at the command post for the operation when the apprehension was made in Revere. We look forward to supporting and assisting federal authorities as they pursue this prosecution. Great. I'm glad you're supporting the FBI. I don't think you really have a choice. But you know what would also be great? Norfolk DA's office is indicting him yourself on other charges. But no, the FBI had to come in and clean up your mess, as they have to do quite a bit lately. Because you can't do your job, Morrissey. So those last 2 Twitter posts that we went over, those came out after this article. So this article is again from Boston 25, Ted Daniels. Go follow him on Twitter. Support the great work that he is doing while he is busy right now. You know, he's having to be involved in a Karen Reed case. There's another case that just happened in that area that has to do with police officers. There are just so many cases right now that Ted Daniels is having to cover because Norfolk District Attorney's Office in that whole area near Boston has issues. So they're keeping him busy. They're giving Ted Daniels a job. So I bet he wishes he was, reporting on other happier things than this kind of nonsense. But the article says an audio recording obtained by 25 Investigates revealed that former Abington police chief David Del Papa knew about one of his officers months before that officer's name was leaked in an explosive report about the manipulation and grooming of Sandra Birchmore by members of the Stoughton Police Department. He used to be one of them, Joshua Hill. The recording, which was never supposed to be released publicly, is from a review Abington conducted about Del Papa's handling of information provided to him about Joshua Hill, who was serving as the Abington school resource officer at the time, which in other videos we have talked about. This officer, Joshua Hill, who was a part of having inappropriate conduct with Sandra Birchmore when she was a minor, is now a school resource officer around a bunch more children of that age. Why is this happening? So Stoughton Deputy Police Chief Robert Holmes first contacted Del Papa in December 2021 to tell him about an internal affairs investigation Stoughton had launched into text messages Massachusetts State Police detectives pulled from Birchmore's mobile phone after she was found dead in her Canton apartment in February 2021. So we have December 2021. It took basically 11 months for them to tell anybody about this. But 11 months later, they did contact, Abington Police Department to tell them about one of their current officers and one of Stoughton's former officers and how gross he is. State police assigned to the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office initially ruled Birchmore's death as an unaliving. And here is a photo of Chief David Del Papa of the Abington Police Department in Massachusetts. In August, federal authorities charged former Stoughton police officer Matthew Farwell with murdering Birchmore and staging her death to look like she had hung herself. Farwell first met Birchmore when she was a 13-year-old participant in Stoughton's Police Explorers program, which teaches young people about jobs in law enforcement. The deputy, Holmes, told me that Hill and the deceased woman were friends and that they had texted quite frequently. I believe it was daily, Del Papa heard on the recording. There was a lot of digital information. He said he was hoping that Josh Hill would help them connect the dots. Del Papa is adamant in his accounting that Holmes initially told him that Hill was only a witness in the Stoughton investigation, and he said Holmes provided him a letter stating that. Yeah, I'd like to see that letter. In an early conversation, Holmes told Del Papa he would share additional information about Hill's involvement with Birchmore if Del Papa agreed to sign a non-disclosure or confidential agreement. Del Papa says he balked at the NDA and described the request as highly unusual. Del Papa said at that point he had no concerns about Hill. Well, they're not just contacting you because he's doing great things. Don't tell me that you don't have any knowledge of this. And if Holmes really didn't tell you, then shame on Holmes. But I think Holmes is saying the opposite. No, I did tell him about this. He's just trying to play dumb now because he looks stupid putting somebody that had, illegal interaction with a minor as a school resource office in his department. So he's trying to save face. I'm not buying it for a second. Holmes interviewed Hill 2 weeks later, but according to Del Papa, Hill ended the conversation because Hill felt like Holmes was treating him like a suspect. Well, you kind of are. You're involved in this. You may not have, took her life, but you're a part of this disgusting ring of police officers that was doing horrible things to this little girl. Del Papa ordered Hill to speak to Holmes, and a second interview took place in February 2021. Del Papa said he still understood Hill to be a witness in Stoughton's investigation, despite Hill's request for legal counsel. Which, if that's what he understood, okay. And him getting legal counsel should not be a red flag. If you are being questioned by a police officer or law enforcement, always get legal counsel. Don't talk to them until you do. Whether you're innocent or you're guilty, get a lawyer. So that shouldn't be a red flag. That can't be held against him. If somebody's questioning you, you need to have counsel because it can be misconstrued, especially if you're talking to Norfolk or Canton. So says, and I'm glad he told him, I don't care if you want to talk to them or not. You want to continue to work here, you're going to sit down and talk to them. No ifs, ands, or buts. Get your butt in there and sit down with that officer or detective. So good for him for being like, well, I let you sit down with him. Not my fault you didn't get anything else out of him. I am glad that he made him go back and have another interview with them. Like, good on him for that. I will give you props there. The following month, Holmes told Del Papa that Birchmore was known to have mental health issues and that Hill had received oral from Birchmore off duty when she was a young adult. Del Papa said he was also told by Holmes that Birchmore had disclosed details about her relationship with other members of the Stoughton Police Department to Josh in explicit detail. Hill's attorney, Peter S. Farrell, yeah, really? We gotta have a Farrell and Farwell's? That's confusing. Told 25 Investigates Hill is a material witness in an ongoing federal investigation and has not been ever, and is not going to be the target of any criminal charges in the future because he has not broken any laws. Yes, he did. Del Papa said he wasn't concerned about Hill's role in the schools or as a police comfort dog handler at the time. Del Papa told a town attorney Hill was married when Hill received oral from Birchmore, and extramarital affairs aren't any of my business. I really can't get involved in that, according to the audio. Well, if it was just an extramarital affair and it was just two consenting adults, that would be one thing. But I don't think that's what we have here. Kirk Minihane was first to report extensively on Hill's involvement with Birchmore in season 2 of his highly rated podcast called The Case. I will also try to link that podcast if you want to go listen to it. I know I am going to go listen to that about this part. In an interview with investigative reporter Ted Daniels at his Watertown studio, Minihane said alarm bells should have gone off when Del Papa learned that Hill was being sought for information in Stoughton's then secret probe. Yeah, that's why I'm not buying that he thinks that he was just gonna come out squeaky clean in this. Like, they don't call you because he did good things. They're not questioning you because you were great. It seems to me, minute 1 you find out, you put this guy on leave until you figure stuff out. And if he's exonerated, fine, back to work, but of course, he wasn't exonerated, Minnie Haynes said. Exactly. Put him on leave. Get him away from those children. Hill has sort of gone under the radar, and he shouldn't. I think we gave Hill an episode, but we probably didn't give enough representation to what he did. Yeah. He might be one that, maybe he only had one encounter or he was barely involved. I don't care if you had any involvement for 1 minute. You're filth. And you do not get to protect the town, and you do not get to be around other children so that you can do this with them. An affair can be forgiven, but an affair is not an affair if it is with a minor. It is ARPing. In a statement, Del Papa said Abington's review of his actions found him to be professional and diligent in his handling of Hill, and Abington's report states that Del Papa was challenged throughout the entire Stoughton Police Department investigation, receiving limited information from Holmes and Stoughton Police Department specific to Hill. Hill continued to work in Abington schools for 6 more months until September 22nd, 2022. The day Del Papa learned from a law firm that Hill's name had been mistakenly left unredacted in a report Stoughton police were about to release to the media about Birchmore's relationships when the Stoughton officers Matthew Farwell, his twin brother William Farwell, Robert Devine, and Joshua Hill. They wanted to give us a heads up because it's going to be a disaster. So I got off the phone, I called Josh Hill in and told him, I think you are on admitted leave at that point. I still don't know the full breadth of Stoughton's investigation as far as one of the officers having relationships with this woman when she was underage and grooming and all that, Del Papa stated in the recording. 2 days prior, Holmes told Del Papa in a Walgreens parking lot that Hill was not credible and warned him, I don't think you want him around children. Del Papa said he was still weighing that information when he learned that Hill's name was in Stoughton's report. You shouldn't have been weighing information and weighing options. Get him away from the children. Protect the kids. This guy is worth nothing. At the Walgreens meeting, Del Papa and Holmes also revealed Josh and Miss Birchmore had texted filthy things back and forth to each other. He said Josh tried to have sex with her friend while he was married. He said Josh was interested in the friend because she was a virgin. A pig that needs to be roasted. Abington town manager Scott Lambias told 25 Investigates Del Papa followed department policy and protocol and never learned the scope of Stoughton's findings before they became public. Bullshit. They tried to warn you so that you could get ahead of this. You're now lying. In my humble opinion. As a police officer and a member of a union civil service, there's steps that you have to go through before you can actually put somebody on administrative leave or begin an investigation. I believe that once we actually knew the full depth and confirmation on what actually happened, we acted pretty quickly, Lambias said. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. It took you over a year. It took you about a year to get there. We acted quickly. Bullshit. Hill remained on paid administrative leave until February 2023, when he submitted his resignation. Why are you resigning if you're innocent? No need to resign if you did nothing wrong. Del Papa left Abington in May, so he's no longer the chief of police for Abington, in what Lambias described as a mutual separation from the town. Del Papa was provided a letter of recommendation, and according to his separation agreement, he will be paid through May 2025. So he gets to still get payment from Abington while he goes and works somewhere else. That's interesting. And he probably bowed out because he doesn't want to be a part of all this. But when you don't take allegations seriously and you let a child map continue to stay around children, you're in this. You didn't have to be in the range of fire. Del Papa told 25 Investigates, what happened to Sandra Birchmore was an absolute tragedy. I pray that justice is served soon and that it will provide her family with some semblance of comfort in the aftermath of this truly horrific event. Well, they're not going to have comfort until all these men are punished. Until the state takes some steps and starts indicting people, not just the FBI. Based on his research, Minnie Haynes said Del Papa should have acted sooner, and I agree with that. I don't know how Del Papa went to work every day knowing that one of his guys who has this kind of history is walking around schools dealing with kids, he said. Well said, Minnie Haynes. Well said. So that is some of the updates and things that have been going on in the Sandra Birchmore case. Remember to like this video, subscribe, turn those notification bells on so you do not miss a single thing in this case. I hope you have a good rest of your day, night, whenever you watch this, and I will see you in the next video.